What's going on, friends? Logan Myerz back here for Cinephellas.com doing another retro review. I've been very inspired lately. Recently, we live in Illinois, as most of you know, the Chicagoland area. Recently, we went to a concert in Highland Park, which is a very nice area, the North Shore of Chicago, in the suburbs kind of thing, but a very nice area. That's where Michael Jordan has a house, lots of very nice houses, and also a lot of filming locations from one of the biggest inspirations and heroes of mine. Growing up in Illinois, and this guy being a huge part of my youth and growing up and watching his films, I'm talking about John Hughes, the legendary director-writer, known all over the world, but mostly in Chicago for bringing so many films to the city. Back when, you know, Chicago was really cool, and back when I was growing up, it didn't have as much crime and all the problems that we have now. Being up in Highland Park, we drove past Northbrook Court Mall. Some of you guys may not know what that is, but it was from the movie Weird Science that came out in 1985. That's in Northbrook, and then we went up to Highland Park to the concert. There's a lot of filming locations for Weird Science, Wyatt's house, other scenes in the movie. Further up the road from the concert venue, there's Cameron's house from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, you know, the glass house and everything. They have the car in there, they kick it off. Really famous scene from that movie, and that's, you know, all in the same areas. One of these days I'm going to do like a John Hughes tour and go through all the hot spots from all of his films and kind of do a video and talk about it. That's one of my goals in the near future, so stay tuned for that. So the setup of the film of Weird Science, we have two kids, Wyatt and Gary. They're outcasts, they're nerds, as we see in a lot of John Hughes films. Just really outcasts in high school, awkward, you know, really liking girls, but they come off creepy. So they basically use their computer to design the perfect woman, Lisa, and like Dr. Frankenstein, they bring this woman to life using their computer, and it's really very 80s and retro with all the like technology. But that particular scene with them like creating Lisa with their computers, it's a little dated, obviously. It's 34 years ago, but I thought it was, you know, very retro and cool at the same time. So Lisa, played by Kelly LeBrock, you know, she was a huge babe back in the 80s, and this is like her big movie showcasing that she is a badass. You know, they created her. She does have a mind of her own, as we see throughout the film. Lisa doesn't really listen to Gary and Wyatt. She's really kind of there to mentor them and push them in the right direction to make them better, you know, teenagers and better human beings. Ilan Mitchell-Smith plays Wyatt. He's kind of more the raspy, soft-spoken, goody-good. His family's very rich. In the movie, they have this like huge party at this house in Highland Park where they live, and it's massive. And the other character in the movie is Gary, played by Anthony Michael Hall, which is no stranger to the John Hughes franchise, him being in Breakfast Club that came out in the same year in 1985, and 1984 he was in 16 Candles. So 3 movies within 2 years is pretty fantastic. And he was also in the first Vacation movie as Rusty, which was written by John Hughes. But these two characters of Wyatt and Gary, they have a really great relationship. Reminds me of much like me and Henry's relationship back in high school. Always kind of awkward kids, and always stuck together and trying to figure out or scheme the ultimate plan. And I thought it was just a very original premise how they, you know, these two kids, teenagers, create their ultimate perfect woman, and, you know, bringing her around town, and everybody knows about Lisa at this point, and seeing how are these two geeks getting such a hot woman, an older woman too. And one character I forgot all about was in this movie, was a young Robert Downey Jr. He plays Ian, and his friend Max, played by Robert Russler, and he was in Nightmare on Elm Street. So these two actors are up and coming back then. They're very young, but you can see Robert Downey Jr. was definitely a dick back then too. Just their comedic relief in this film, and them terrorizing Wyatt and Gary. You know, the famous scene at the mall where they pour the slushy on them. And a lot of great scenes throughout the movie, and them trying to figure out why and how they got Lisa, and Ian and Max kind of figure that out towards the end of the movie, what exactly Wyatt and Gary were up to and how they created this perfect woman. But like most John Hughes movies, there's always a great story, a great theme, and a lot of great messages that you can get out of these coming-of-age stories and movies. In this movie, it showed, you know, these kids creating this woman, but this woman really changes them and makes them better people. And that's what I got out of the story, is not just them being horny teenagers and creating, you know, this woman with their computers, but her actually pushing them in the right direction, you know, not put up with any bullshit. And she was the most important character in this film. But with John Hughes being at the helm of the film, being the writer and director, you know, really capturing all these great scenes, and he was such a collaborative director just watching documentaries about him, how he was always next to the camera. He's always there just, you know, for a good vibe and to not put a lot of stress on the set. And you can see that with all his movies, especially Weird Science, it's very relaxed. It's very, you know, funny at times, and just the whole atmosphere of the film I really loved about this. So the rest of the film, we see how Gary Wyatt and Lisa's relationship kind of changes, and how these two characters, being the main teenagers in the film, really change, and how you know, Lisa is such an intricate part of their relationship. But one of my favorite characters of the film, again, another young actor at this time, Bill Paxton, playing the older brother Chet, Wyatt's brother. He's like flat top and total douchebag throughout the entire film. But I love this actor, and I really miss this actor thinking about him now. He's been in so many great films, and seeing him young and portraying this, you know, older brother kind of asshole character was really great. And he really gave Gary and Wyatt a lot of shit throughout the film, and then we can all see what happens to Chet's character at the very end of the movie. So being an asshole and being a bully doesn't always pay off. But overall, Weird Science is a movie I've been wanting to watch for some time. I haven't seen it in a long time. You know, going up to Highland Park and driving past places where the movie was filmed is really inspiring to me, and really made me want to get back into more of the John Hughes films and kind of binge all of them and talk about them in this retro review series. And I'm absolutely glad I watched this movie because it does hold up 34 years later. It's a coming-of-age story with two great young actors, Ilan Mitchell-Smith and Anthony Michael Hall really did a great job as Wyatt. And Gary, you know, showing this relationship. And again, Kelly LeBrock is really great in this movie. Like I was saying earlier, she was a big babe back then. And, you know, she really portrayed this kick-ass, independent woman that these guys created. And I thought she was the best part of the movie. So Weird Science does have a lot of great comedy. It's a heartfelt movie. It's a coming-of-age story. And, you know, people young and old, I think, can really get attached to this film. So overall, I'm going to give Weird Science from 1985, directed and written by John Hughes, a 4 out of 5 Gary and Wyatt hair pieces. So what did you guys think of Weird Science from 1985? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What's your favorite John Hughes movie? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myerz signing out, my good mate up here. Chat! Until the next retro movie review. Cheers!